Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to talk about fasting, and I've brought along Dr. Ben to give us some scientific points, and then I figure I can give you some practical schedules to do and ideas to keep yourself on track and not doing the same thing every day, because I'm sure he'll touch on why that's not exactly the healthiest thing you could do.
Thank you, Nicole. I'll keep it brief. Try to anyways. Here's what you need to remember about fasting. The two A's, autophagy and apoptosis. So those are kind of like your spring cleaning. Your body can clean itself out of cells that are not functioning optimally. Think of it as like an old jalopy, an old carburetor, an old car that's just not functioning well anymore. It's getting very, very poor gas mileage, and it's blowing out a lot of black smoke out of the tailpipe. That it needs a tune-up. That carburetor needs to run more efficiently. Same with your cells. So the carburetors are the mitochondria, and you can start to have mitochondria that start to perform sluggishly. They don't make very energy in a very efficient manner, and they make a lot of exhaust. So you need to clean those guys out. Those mitochondria need to die and go away. And also just overall, a cell that isn't dividing properly. It's starting to divide in a manner that could lead to cancer. That cell needs to die also. So when you fast, you induce the body to clean out the old, non-functioning or poorly functioning mitochondria and the cells too. So that's called autophagy and apoptosis, or just cleaning yourself out. So that's two good reasons to fast. Another one is you want to be metabolically flexible. You don't want to be stuck in a rut. You want, think of it as cruise control. You could put your car on cruise control and just keep it at 65 forever and ever and ever. There's some benefits to that, but the body prefers not to be just in a steady, constant state all the time. It likes to be revved up sometimes, and sometimes it likes to coast. It wants to be able to go back and forth. And so when you fast, you force the body into fat burn metabolism. And when you eat, especially a little more carbohydrate eating, you're in more of a sugar burn metabolism. And there is some benefit to having some of both. We talk about eating fats all the time, and that is the most preferred mechanism for producing energy, because you make a lot of energy when you burn fat for fuel, and you also make very little exhaust. But the science shows that there's benefit to mixing it up, and occasionally getting a little bit of carb in there. Now it needs to be clean carb, not this hot processed and tons of sugar and processed grains. So mix it up is the point. The U.S. population is the current modern U.S. population is the first group of people ever in the world who are in a chronically fed state. So we get up and eat breakfast, we eat a mid-morning snack and lunch and afternoon snack and an evening meal and a late evening snack, and we're just constantly eating. Well, the body doesn't like that, and no other people group has ever done that. You need to compress your eating into a certain window, and it's different for everybody, but generally a 4 to maybe 8 hour window, somewhere in there, but definitely not a 10, 12 hour window every single day, day after day, year after year after year for your whole life. That's not as healthy. The body repairs and detoxifies when you're not eating. And so you want that window of no food, no calories going in to always be bigger than your fed window. So we're talking every single day you want to try to compress it, but then sometimes you want to go a long period of time, 24 hours, 48 hours, 4 days. When you can fast for that 4 day, that's when you're really getting that spring cleaning going. So think about doing a 4-day fast a couple times a year. Nicole leads a lot of fasts here at our clinic and on our online support group. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about the practical things, because there are some practical things you need to know. If you've never fasted before, there's a way to kind of ease into that. So Nicole, what are some of those tips and suggestions?
So practically speaking, we would like for you to get to a point where you can listen to your body. And if you're not hungry, don't eat. And if you're hungry, eat. But sometimes navigating those waters is rocky in the beginning. So there are a few schedules out there that you can follow to help keep you on track and remind you what you should do each day. One of them is called a 5-1-1. The other one is a 4-2-1. So the 5-1-1, 5 days out of the week, you're going to intermittent fast, which Dr. Penn referred to that in compressing your eating window. So all of your food that you consume that day should come into a 4 to 8 hour window. So usually it's called a 16-8. 18 hours is really great, 18-6. And that's when you're going to consume your food. So 5 days out of the week, you would do that. On 1 day out of the week, you want to get in a 24-hour fast. So maybe eat supper on Sunday night and don't eat supper again until Monday night. That's a 24-hour fast. The other day is kind of optional, up to you. You could do that to feed your body, feast, and eat all 3 meals that day. Typically, I like to do that the day before I fast, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The 4-2-1, 4 days of the week, you're going to intermittent fast. 2 days you would fast, so 48-hour fast, Sunday night dinner, and don't eat dinner again until Tuesday night. And then the last day that week, you would feed or feast all 3 meals. Just like he mentioned, it's good to do an extended fast a couple of times out of the year. We usually try to host one here once every quarter, just to give everyone an opportunity to get in on that. Basically, we all just determine ourselves to fast together, and I come on social media and encourage you daily and give you some practical tips of how to make it through the fast. So those are some ideas, but ultimately you want to get to a place where you can really just listen to your body, and if you're not hungry, don't eat, and if you're hungry, eat.
All right, I totally agree with Nicole. Thank you. The one comment I'll have, because I get asked all the time, Doc, tell me exactly how to fast. And I understand, especially Western-minded, American, conventional doctor thinking, the doctor will tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And we can do that. We can give you an exact prescription like a 5-1-1, 4-2-1, whatever. That's okay, but you want to, like Nicole said, move to the point you're just listening to your own body. But I will say this, if you've never fasted before, and especially if you're coming in totally standard American diet, you're eating a lot of carbs, processed carbs in particular, the easy first step is just move from a highly processed, high glycemic index, carbohydrate-rich diet to a lower carb diet. So just start cutting those carbs down. That means you can just cut your portion size in half at first. You could have a baked potato, cut it in half. Or have a sandwich, leave the top half off, the bread. Just start getting your portion size down. Then the next step would be switch your carbs to a lower glycemic carb. So an example is sweet potato versus a white potato. White potato is going to raise your blood sugar really high, really fast. Sweet potato, not so much. Steel cut oats, they won't raise your blood sugar quite as high and quite as fast. Or those 1 minute quick oats will raise your blood sugar real fast. So a way to know if a food is too high of a glycemic index, we call it, just Google that. Glycemic index plus the name of the food, like steel cut oats versus 1 minute oats or sweet potato, white potato. And you want to get a number around 50, 55-ish or below. That's a pretty good goal for the glycemic index. You want those lower numbers. So that's the next step, switch to low glycemic carbs. Then third, I would probably just start compressing that window down. So you might still be eating some carbs, but at least try to get your supper in earlier in the evening and don't eat anything after supper. Definitely not 2 hours before bed. Maybe start pushing your breakfast a little later in the morning if you can and compress that eating window down. So once you've done that, step 4, I'd say just drop the breakfast. And have some water, have some tea or black coffee if you need to, some bone broth, liquids are okay. So then there you're at an 18-hour fast before you know it when you just skip breakfast. So it's really not that bad. And after you have done a couple of 18 hours, it's easy to move to a 24. Eat a big supper, sleep all night, go all the next day and just drink some liquids and then eat supper again. That's a 24-hour fast. So it's really not that hard. Americans just aren't used to doing it. And again, we're the first people group in the history of the world that hasn't fasted. Every other culture has always fasted for either spiritual and religious reasons or just because there was a famine or they didn't make a kill that day and they had to fast. And the body needs to see this fasting time. It's fine to feast, but we also need to famine or fast some. So remember that. I know food's readily available in every corner and it's super cheap and we're just in this chronically fed state, but that's why we're the sickest. That's one of the reasons why we're the sickest industrialized country in the world, and we need to get back to eating and fasting how our great-grandparents used to. So go start fasting. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next class.